I'm so excited to jump into this show today. And I know you're going to be when you hear what we're going to talk about. It's a mystery to many of us. Insurance and billing, medical insurance and billing. My head spins around it. I have some friends who are medical billers. The stories that they tell me, the codes and all of this going on, it just doesn't make sense. I just want to pay what I'm supposed to pay and understand what's going on. So we're going to break it all down. We're going to start with somebody who's got a company called Integrity, and this is all in her wheelhouse. Carrie Krill joins us here on the program. How you doing again?
Good. How are you, Steve?
Doing great. Now tell us about Integrity. What do you guys do
Awesome.
there?
So Integrity Mental Health is a basic mental health company. We do mental health evaluations, medication management, therapy. So yeah, we're just focused in those areas. We do a little bit of functional psychiatry with our regular medication management. So yeah.
So you've brought a guest along because this is definitely in your wheelhouse because you're billing the insurance companies and then the insurance
Yes.
companies are billing the rest of us. Uh, who's Ricky Lowe?
Ricky actually is our biller.
Oh,
Is with Elite Medical Billing. And we've worked together for the last 4 years. She's an amazing biller. And I'm bringing her along because this is her specialty. This is what she does all day in and out.
well, red carpet rolling out for Ricky. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Steve. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hmm. I lots of things are swirling around in my head. I'm not even really sure, which is odd, where to begin. But I don't know. I guess we'll throw it to Ricky. Maybe things that we should be aware of when insurance companies are being billed, medical for medical. And on the back end, when we get a bill, what are a couple of things that we should be aware of?
Yeah. One of the main things, Steve, that comes to mind with me is a lot of people, I guess I want to say, assume that the doctor's offices just magically know what their benefits are and who they have and how it's all going to work. So we do depend on the patients to supply the insurance. It does behoove the patients to contact their insurance before finding a provider to find out who is in network, meaning that insurance company and that office, such as Integrity, has a relationship and has a contract. If you go to one outside of that, they're not going to pay the doctor's office. But what can happen is providers can just call Integrity, or I'm sorry, patients can call Integrity out of the blue and say, hey, I want to come to you. Do you take my insurance? Initially, they can tell them yes, but we want to verify it. So what's really great about Integrity is they have a great eligibility person kind of growing into a team now that she will verify your benefits before you are seen. So we know ahead of time, we being Carrie, the whole team and everybody knowing, hey, this is your deductible. You haven't met it. So this is what you need to pay up front, or this is your copay. You need to pay a copay. We'll bill your insurance. So we depend on the patient to give us the correct and accurate information. And then when we have all of that, Carrie and her team of providers see the patients, they give everything to my team, we bill it out. Where we really benefit and work great together, Ms. Carrie and I, is any claims that are denied instantly, we work right away. We reach out to the patients, we reach out to the insurance company. The way I think which really benefits everybody here in this office working with Carrie is that I'm not a biller and my team's not billing team that just say, hey, look at this, the insurance didn't pay, let's send a bill to Steve and he's going to pay it now. As soon as I get any kind of denial, I on the phone with the insurance company, my team and staff are to make sure that that is denied correctly, see if the patient knows it or not, and we work with them due diligently. Patients can call, and when they ask a question on their bill, it's not just, well, the insurance company said you owe it, so you have to pay it. We will work with them, explain to them, help them understand what a deductible is, what a copay is, why you're paying it, and how it works out. We don't just say, well, your insurance company said pay it, so pay it. So on my end, I'm an advocate for the providers, for Carrie and her team, but we're also work together as an advocate for the patients to make sure they understand why they're getting the bill and why they owe it and not just pay up. Yeah,
Uh, all these companies should be like Integrity, to be honest with you,
right.
because it
Exactly.
sounds like you got your act together. It's a smooth flow. There's great patient communication. I'm going to give you an example, if I may, of a situation that I'm in right now. Not a big one, but frustrating for me. I'm the easiest person to deal with, easiest patient. Had a little rotator cuff issue back in the winter. went to physical therapy. Um, I won't even get into what went on with my insurance company, where the primary suggested that I get a um, MRI, got denied twice. Then they told me to get an ultrasound. So I went and did that. I thought it was covered. Hundreds of dollars later, I had to pay. I'm like, what? And they still don't know what it was. So then they said, well, get physical therapy. All right. So I go to a physical therapy place. They took me late to start out with. So I didn't even get a full treatment because I had to go to work. That's besides the point. But they said, yeah, your insurance company's not going to cover it. So you got to pay, it's $80. You got to pay $80. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So they do, some stretches and evaluations and such. And I leave. And it was just like, you know what? I'm just going to tough it out. It'll get better eventually. I can't see paying $80 every time I go. Lo and behold, months later, I get a bill for $236. And I'm like, and I paid 80. They told me to pay 80. I spoke with a representative. And she says, well, I'm going to try and sort this out. Doesn't show that you paid anything. I said, I gave $80. I had credit card. I'll go back. A month and a half later, I get another bill for the same exact thing. And now I'm like, I'm dedicating all this time.
Yep.
So I even wrote on the bill, explained everything again. Then they called me. They left a voicemail. I called them back and left a voicemail. And I basically said, and I am just the easiest. I said, please stop calling me. I've already paid you. You told me to pay 80. I paid 80. I don't know if this happens for other people, but what's the recourse? I already paid. And now they're billing me and they show that I didn't pay.
That's the most scariest part there, showing that you didn't pay. And that's why I really like the relationship with Carrie's team and I,
Sure.
is because, as soon as a patient calls me with a question and say, hey, I paid, I may not show it there, but I'm calling Carrie's team going, hey, didn't get recorded. Let's work with this guy. Let's help him. So the recourse is on that. I mean, you've got your credit card statement to show that you paid it.
Yep.
I would definitely come back at that, show them that you have that and go with that. And what's unfortunate is this happens often. I don't know if this is a billing company that you're dealing with or the PT office themselves. But what I've learned, and Carrie can probably speak of this with previous, not to put anybody else down, previous billing companies and billers, they drop the ball. They're just like, hey, all I'm saying is this is what I see, and that's that. You got the bill, you have to pay it. And we try so hard to, like you said earlier, Steve, to communicate with our patients because we communicate with each other. Now, that's not to say things get overlooked, mistakes happen or anything. It does, but we work with everybody on it to try to get that. To me, there's a couple issues on yours that if I get my hands start sweating because I'd want to help with something like that. But there's a couple issues on yours of why did they say 80, but now you owe 236 and you haven't even paid your 80. I mean, so keep it. I would say they need to keep quit calling you, but you need to stay on that phone call with the PT itself. I don't know if you're calling a billing company when you're making your phone calls, but
it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's coming from an in-house situation, but how do we even know? It could be right. Yeah,
exactly. And everything you're talking about there, Steve, is something that my passion is to help the patients. You don't, and nothing you, but generally the public, they don't understand insurance. They don't understand deductibles versus copays versus coinsurances. I live, eat, and breathe this for 38 years. I love explaining to people. And I've always wanted to say, hey, if I could sit down and open my office for people to come in and have me help them with bills, I would love to do it because more often than not, Carrie, I'm sure you could speak for this, it's usually not even a mistake with the office or the biller, and not to say that we don't make mistakes, but it's usually an issue with the insurance because insurances will do anything they can to not pay on a claim. And if they don't have someone fighting for that bill, whether it's me or the patient, then they have to pay less out of their pocket.
Right.
And you're right. We don't know as the patient. I don't know how this works. I just want to feel better. And here's my, I don't know. I can't even call it a copay. $80 copay for physical therapy.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, and that's the part, like when you walked in the door, like even before you walked in the door, they should have known that, hey, your insurance is going to cover this. We're out of network. We're whatever the reason they said your insurance wasn't going to cover it. They should have been able to explain that when you walked in the door. So you could have made a decision. Do I really want to be seen here? Or do I want to find a different provider that might be covered by my insurance? Or is it a deductible thing? Maybe you have a high deductible plan And they said, well, we'll collect 80 and bill the rest and see what you're going to owe. But then they should put that out in there and like, hey, this is why, not
Exactly.
to say, oh, well, you owe it.
Full disclosure here, I got a bad feeling from the beginning in that, they started late. It happens. I understand. I didn't include that they scheduled me for the wrong day, so I showed up the day before.
Oh no.
No.
And
Sounds
then I
like
showed
they're
up
right on top of things.
then the next day, and then the physical therapist said, I even said, I don't know if I could keep coming for $80 every single time. She goes, well, you know what? You make that decision, but we're going to email you stretches that you can do, blah, blah, blah. Never got them. But anyway,
Wow.
when I
Wow.
have to circle
I'm
back, but
so sorry.
fortunately, I have the credit
Yeah.
card
Yep.
The receipt.
information, and my arm is better, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Uh,
Keep
Yeah.
fighting for it though, Steve. Don't pay the bill. Keep
Yeah.
fighting
Yeah.
for it.
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah.
I am not paying the bill. I will not
Yeah.
back down because I shouldn't have to. This is what I
No,
was
Yeah.
told. And maybe
exactly.
it's the front desk person that is
Mhm.
unaware, but shame on this company for not
Exactly.
working with people
Right.
that have it together. Um,
Yeah.
Out of network. Can you explain that? We kind of know what it is, but maybe we're not 100% sure what that means.
Yeah. Do you want to, Carrie? Do you want me to go ahead?
Sure. So basically, out of network means that I have a contract with certain insurance companies, but I don't have a contract with every insurance company for various reasons. The companies I don't have a contract with, if you have their insurance and you come to me, you're out of network because I don't have a contract with them. So out of network benefits usually mean you have to pay more, a higher percentage, or a higher deductible. So it doesn't behoove people to go to an out of network provider most of the time. There are some
Okay.
caveats to that. Like sometimes we'll have somebody that they can't find a provider in network. And a lot of times we'll suggest at that point in time just to come to us at the cash rate, which if they request to come to us at the cash rate, we can do and not even bill their insurance, which is usually a more financially it's better financially for the patient if they do
Yeah.
it that way.
Got it. So real world experience dealing with a medical provider for my daughter right now.
Mhm.
Seems like the best choice. It's out of network, but they said they're going to negotiate with the insurance company and see if they can come to a decision. It almost
Yeah.
sounds as if they may be able to come to a decision where the insurance company could pay for all of it.
Wow.
It's if nobody else offers the same kind of
Right.
uh,
Right.
Service.
service. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that sound reasonable?
It,
Yeah. I mean, you can get a single case agreement with an insurance company if no one else in your area offers that service.
Okay.
But Steve, if I may, if you're going to go
Yeah.
through with this with your daughter, you get names, reference numbers, and dates of everybody you talk to.
Yeah.
Case in point, just even this morning, I had one of my team here calling on some claims for integrity. And we called last month and they, oh no, we never received the chart notes. Sorry, send them again. Today we called and then we were told by somebody else, oh, we received the chart notes. We received them the very first time. Now we have 2 sets of chart notes. So you give them a reference number and they're like, that's not even one of our reference numbers. So always, anytime someone tells you, yes, we will cover this at this amount, have it in writing, have it in paper, reference numbers, dates and times of everybody you talk with, because the insurance companies will notoriously forget what they told you last week or last month, especially when it comes to paying on the claim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and thank you for that. Interestingly, with this particular provider, the communication has been exceptionally good. I mean, I even got a text the other day from somebody named Ashley, and I'm like, it's a bot. But I'm like, all right, let me. And she said, we're working on it right now. We'll give you an update when we find out. So I replied with a question, and I got a real-time reply. So it seems like they're on their game. But yes, to your point, they're not the insurance company. So whoever I speak to verify when this is done, because it could be the same situation I dealt with the physical therapy that,
Yeah.
it's all covered. You're good. You're good. And then I get a bill for thousands of dollars,
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Scary.
It should be with the just like with the eligibility team here with Carrie's. When they call and we're told something, and they tell you right when you call too, this is not a guarantee of benefits. This is not us telling you we will pay. So they have that to fall back on in all of their verbiage and lawyer attorney stuff. So just know that just because that eligibility person calls and says, hey, yeah, you can come in and you have, you know, a $25 copay, and then later you get a huge bill. It's usually not the provider's office, not to point fingers at anybody, but
Yeah.
it's usually because then the insurance, when you call and say, but this is what we were told. Oh, sorry, that person told you the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So then it really works out with carrying us, because if it is an insurance issue, we'll try to work with the patient in understanding with them that, oh, it's not really a $50 copay. Now you have to meet a $5,000 deductible. They told us wrong.
Right.
So, you know, I think a lot of people understand that it's the doctor's office that's at fault, but the insurance companies are tough. They really-
And I think
Yeah.
it's layers deeper. Do you with the marketplace?
Mhm.
Do you have that in Idaho?
Yes, we do.
It's just there's a lot of good there
Very interesting.
in
Yeah.
in that, you know, for those who can't pay and the state picks up the other side of it. If you don't qualify for that, then and you're paying, you know, out of your pocket straight out, it's almost like you got the state middleman marketplace there where you have to communicate with them, then to the insurance company. My personal feeling is if you're not going to depend on the state for them to pick up any of your insurance, you should be a free agent and pick whoever you want.
Right.
I love your opinion. I don't know.
Totally
Or
agree.
if you want to tap out on that one, go right ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, at least in our state, I mean, our marketplace gives people multiple choices. And then once they choose it, they can go directly to the insurance company. But I know other states do have that middleman, and it's a much more complicated process.
Yeah.
Ricky works with some other states. She might have more insight into that.
Yeah, the other states that do have the middleman, these are the ones, the patients that are calling me going, well, this is such a high deductible. This is a high copay. I don't have any choice. And it comes back on us going, but you chose to come to us, even though you knew this insurance and we broke it down with you with this insurance. So there is, like you said, the different caveats, the goods and the bads of all of them. All in all I have to say of almost 40 years of doing this, the insurance is they have us. I'm not going to say they have us, and you just have to pick and choose wisely, ask questions with your doctor's offices before the appointments, ask the questions. That's where we get, now the patients are receiving the statements and then they call us and they're asking us the questions, go, well, I didn't know this and I didn't know that. So, you know, it behooves, our little gal Tiffany is great with calling the patients and explaining to them ahead of time. If we know they have a high deductible, she's on the phone going, this is your deductible and it's not met. So be prepared to pay this amount before you come in. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's expectations. Just if you
Yeah.
manage it.
exactly.
I have to tell you,
Trying to set
Ricky,
expectations.
I have much respect for what you do.
Mhm.
40 years. Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm very close to someone who did medical billing back in the day. She had some changes in her life. She had to take a little time off, passing in the family and such. She jumped back into it about a year ago, and she's very sharp, very sharp. She had to leave the job after, I want to say, 9 months because it
Mhm.
was, and this
Oh.
is for a major health provider in the New York area.
Oh.
They didn't have their act together, the culture and everything. It sounds like you have it down to a science, you know,
Well,
with integrity.
I try, and we try, and like I said, and I do have a provider in your area. We'll just say, I don't want to say in your area over there. And, you know, it does make a difference when you have a biller, a billing company, whatever you want to call it, whoever it is, if it's a huge team or one or two people, to work with the providers. I'm lucky enough to work with Carrie, like I said, for the last 4 years. The communication is the biggest thing. We have weekly meetings, touch base on, you know, which providers are credentialed, which aren't, which patients are we having issues with, where is our biggest balances at, and everything. So if you communicate well, so the person you're speaking of, I could see how it could just get, wait a minute, this is just too much, because you have to work together as a team, kind of like a fine marriage. If it's going to work out great, communicate great, and if it's not,
Yeah.
it can be a little hectic. Plus the insurance companies don't help, and I know the insurance companies back east there, some of them are a
Sure.
lot different than over here.
Right. Yeah. I actually think the one thing that patients often don't understand, and I think the biggest complaint we get is they think that doctors just set this magical rate and we're making a ton of money. So when you look at the complaints we do get, that's usually the biggest thing. Well, they're making a ton of money. They just set these outrageous rates. We don't set the rates.
Yeah.
I could bill $1 million to your insurance company. Doesn't matter what insurance company. I'm going to get what your insurance company says I can get. And your portion is what your insurance company says your portion is.
And
So
sometimes it doesn't even cover the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't have much control over the system.
Mm.
And we try to explain that to people a lot. It's like, you can be upset with us, but I don't set those bars or those rates. Whatever insurance company you work with does.
Mm. As a patient, you can see that when you get your statement where it says, here's what was
Right
billed,
on.
here's the negotiated rate.
Yes.
Usually big difference.
Yep.
It really is.
Huge
Huge
difference. Huge
difference.
difference.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what's funny is sometimes you have to charge a little bit more, that you look and say, why is your rate, your contractual write-off so much? But some other insurance companies might pay a little bit more than what this other one does. So we have to make sure we charge enough to cover all of the allowables for all of the insurance companies across the board.
Wow.
Because you could be missing out. I could go into it a lot.
So,
But yeah.
so that said, just so we understand it better on the patient side, does that mean that you bill the insurance company higher so that you get a little bit more? There's a little bit of padding in there, or no?
So
No.
much of that is that every insurance company has different rates. So we bill higher than the insurance company that pays us the most. We bill slightly higher than that. The reason we do that is because if they by chance raise their rate slightly, we don't want to leave money on the table. As it is, practices run really tight anymore.
Sure.
That's why you're seeing practices shut down or get sold to big hospital systems. It's
Yep.
because it's a very, very tight margin. A lot of times we're talking margins of 5% profit or 5% loss, just depends on the month.
Right.
So because of that, we have to keep our rates higher than the top insurance. So let's say, in our state, Blue Cross might be our top payer. We'll charge 10% above what Blue Cross pays us. But then you might have somebody that is a really low paying insurance, and it looks like we write off a ton of money. That's because we
But the
have to
patient
charge.
doesn't get more billed, Steve.
No, they don't get billed more.
It
It is,
just means we write off more.
yeah,
But
we just write it off.
that difference doesn't go to the patient, and most patients have a copay anyway, so we can write off more, but their copay is going to be the same. no
Yeah.
matter what. So that difference doesn't go to the patient.
Yeah.
What an
The biggest-
education.
Yeah. The biggest piece of that where it does matter is when patients have high deductible plans or co-insurances, like they owe 20% or 30% of the visit. Then that's when they get frustrated because they're like, that's a lot of money. And I'm like, yeah, it's a ton of money. I get it. But that's the rate your insurance set with us. And we actually I can't not bill you the rate your insurance says I have to bill you. Because I have a contract with the insurance company that says, I will bill you your deductible amount. I will bill you your co-insurance amount.
Yeah. So
Otherwise,
people
I'm
call
in
and ask
violation
if we
of my
can
contract.
discount it. Yeah, they're like, well, can you
Yeah.
give me a discount if I pay in full today? Well, we already took a discount. We wrote off this much from your insurance, and if we write off more, that insurance company frowns upon us because, like Carrie just said, you have a contract with them to bill them that amount and not go, sure, we'll discount it more, even though we billed, Blue Cross this much. So they have guidelines to follow. So it's not Carrie or I being ornery when we say, sorry, we can't give you a discount on top of that.
Yeah.
And
We're-
that's totally understandable. We're almost out of time. We're kind of at the, but I want to ask this question. I think, it's one that people think about. Collections.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of us wonder about that. When it goes to collections, if you haven't paid for whatever that reason is it a real thing? Do you eventually have to take somebody to, the full attorney collection process?
We do. We try not to. I mean, we
Sure.
really try to work with our patients to not send them to collections, to the extent that we'll even do payment plans. You can pay us a little bit per month. I'm happy to take that. So the only people we'll send to collections are people who either refuse to do a payment plan with us. And I mean, we're talking $20 a month. Pay me $20 a month to catch your bill up. Great, I'll do it. Or just won't answer the phone or won't get back to us. Those are the people we're sending to collections. Because we don't want to send people to collections. It's stressful for them.
Sure.
And we don't want to
And more work,
people...
and ultimately more work for your company.
And then we lose even more money because the collection agency keeps a portion of what they do collect if they
Absolutely.
So we've even lost more money if we send them to collections.
Wow.
Yeah, so definitely not our goal. We want to get people just to pay their bills, in a timely manner. And I think the other thing that I would tell patients is if you get a bill and you don't agree with it, don't just ignore it, call us. because there have been a few people we sent to collections and they're like, well, I got all these bills, but I didn't agree with it. And now I'm in collections and I don't think I should pay this. I'm like, well, if you didn't agree with it, call us. We could have
Yeah.
maybe worked it out or figured it out what was going on.
Or miscommunication in the
Yeah,
sen- you know, the
Absolutely.
PT firm that I'm dealing with, you know, somewhere there was a disconnect and, you know,
Exactly.
we'll work it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Integrity. What's your website? Can we learn more?
Yeah, it's mentalhealthidaho.com.
And do you do virtual as well?
We do some virtual. Yes.
Got it. Wow. Great talking with both of you today. Learned a lot. It's a pain point, you know, just
Absolutely.
we have to pay our bills, of course. A service is being rendered and you want to feel better and all of that. But just understanding it, you know, is half the process. And I believe that we got a better understanding today, thanks to both of you. So
Awesome.
Carrie and Ricky, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah. Thanks
Yeah,
for having us.
thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it. We'll be right
Okay.
back.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, you know, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.